This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
Elkhart Lake has played host to many famous races over the years, and today it will play host to possibly one of the most important races for the classic Indycar series so far in 2019. Josh Ching cannot afford any more mistakes for the rest of the seasons, any issues, and he could say goodbye to the championship. The battle for third is also hotting up between Lucas Laville, Robert Grosser, Timo Isniemi, and Logykal, and one that will be even more interesting as the season continues to develop. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network for the Edifice Incorporated 220, live from Road America. Jack Stiles and Randy Chan within the booth, bringing you all the action this evening. And Randy, today will be a new winner in the CIS at Road America, but to be in victory lane, they're going to have to work for it.
You're absolutely right, and especially this place, like you said, such an iconic racetrack, not only to IndyCar, but to the United States in general. A lot of people consider this the United States' Spa, and it really has the same sort of feel. You're blitzing through trees at extraordinarily high speeds, and a lot of great passing opportunities, a lot of great overtaking opportunities, a lot of great racing opportunities at this racetrack. And a lot of things that make this place difficult. It's a long race today, being 55 laps. Going to be in here for quite a while in these race cars, and it's going to put on a great show.
And while there's only one driver, and as always, our track guide is brought to you by Josh Baird.
Welcome to Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for your 2019 Logykal Classic Indycar Series race sponsored by Edifice. Robert Grosser will be driving you through the 4-mile-long road course. Entering Turn 1, we will be going through this slightly larger than 90-degree right-hand turn, which will allow us to keep a lot of speed from the previous straight. Going down the hill and into Turn 3, we will have to slow down quite a bit to make this downhill right-hand 90-degree turn. We will get back on the gas as soon as possible to get as much speed as we can going through the slight Turn 4 and down the Marine Sweep. Expect to see some action going down the straight to set up for a pass for the turn at the bottom of the hill. We will have to brake very hard to make the Turn 5 left-hander and use the runoff to our advantage coming out of the turn. Going up the steep hill between 5 and 6, we will have to brake hard for the 90-degree blind left-hand Turn 6. The right-hander of Turn 7 is pretty open, so we will be able to push the car through here. Heading down the Hurry Downs, we will make a hard left-hand Turn 8 and set ourselves up for the infamous 9 and 10 carousel. Using downforce, we can really push the car through the sweeping turn. The carousel will play a huge factor in the setup and will be very important, as it will set up for a long, fast, and windy straight called the Kettle Bottoms. The Kettle Bottoms is a series of bends consisting of a right, then a left, then another left that will be taken at full speed. Turn 12, or Canada Corner, is a slower right-hand turn that will send us through the very fast and windy Thunder Valley, and we will only have to let off slightly through the Bill Mitchell Bend of 13. Turn 14 will be another important right-hand turn that will set us up for passing opportunities going down the long front stretch. This has been a track tour of Road America, brought to you by Josh Baird and Robert Grosser. I hope you enjoy the race.
This round of the 2019 Logykal Classic IndyCar Series is brought to you by Edifice Incorporated. Edifice Incorporated construction is as much about art as science. It's about a strong vision and the creation of enduring qualities. It's about creative problem solving and the willingness to deliver above and beyond the expected. It's about passionate teams, long-standing partnerships built on trust, and performance and lasting value. For more information, head yourselves over to edificeinc.com and you can find out all about what they do. Well, you've just ridden a lap on board with Josh Baird, and that lap driven by the driver of Robert Grosser, and they have showed you around this brilliant circuit here at Road America. One which, of course, back in the mid-2000s when the Champ Car Series was still a thing, Randy, claimed one victim at the kink, and that was Catherine Legg. A very big, scary incident. Hopefully we won't see anything like that today.
Yeah, the kink is really going to be the trouble corner and the scary corner for all these drivers. It's going to really rely on how you have the cars set up, and that's going to be the big talking point with this race, Jack. We're going to be seeing primarily two strategies, and each strategy is going to heavily depend on what car setup choice you have. You can either run a pretty high aerodynamic set here. We'll take a look at the track information as we talk about this, but you look at that track map, there's a lot of fast corners there. Turn 1 is deceivingly fast. You have, of course, the carousel there up near the top of the track map. That's about a third of the way, halfway around the lap. Then you have the kink, of course, as well. You can either load the aero on for those sorts of corners where you're going to be using so much of your the grip on the car, or if you take a look, you of course have a ton of high-speed stretches, the run down to turn 1, even the run between turn 1 and turn 3. The run from turn 3 down to turn 5 is, I believe, technically the second fastest bit of racetrack you have out there. And then coming out of the carousel all the way down towards Canada Corner, you can really trim the cars out here. And those who load the car up on aero, they're probably going to be looking to come down pit road 3 times here today. If you trim it out with the extra fuel economy you get, you're potentially looking at a 2-stopper. So one of the rare instances, Jack, that we not only have multiple strategies, but we have those multiple strategies on the back of very, very different setup options.
This circuit has been used twice in the Classic IndyCar Series previously, both times won by the Australian driver of Daniel Benefield. Dan was invited to run this race. Unfortunately, his commitment with Positive Sim Racing meaning that he cannot do so. But when he won these races, Randy, he won it on a 2-stop strategy over a 3-stop strategy. So maybe showing that the 2-stop is going to be slightly better, but we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely seems like it, as I'm trying to get our qualifying graphic to show, but it's not wanting to. Let's try this one. Wait for it. That's not it either. So 10 out of 10 to ATVO at the moment. Not really sure what's happening here. So, Jack, save me.
We will be able to show you the qualifying finishing positions in the starting grid in about a minute's time when qualifying finally comes to an end. At the moment, the person on top is a driver making his debut today in the Classic IndyCar Series, and that is Ronnie Nunez. He's done a time of 1 minute 43.992. He's gone 6/10 quicker than the next closest driver of Jamie Wilson. Your championship leader currently sitting down in 6th position. That's Matt Cook. And Josh Chin having a really bad qualifying because he hasn't even set a lap time yet.
Well, he's got a penalty from
yes.
Gateway. He's got to start from the back of the field. So that's the big talking point, I think, today. The person currently situated second in the points, well down the order, in what is actually one of the most well-populated races we've seen in a while.
Yes, so we've got 22 cars who have set a lap time, and it looks like we're going to have another 4 who haven't done so yet. One maybe not be taking the start, and that is Zachary Svahar. I do not think that he will be running in this race today. But for Josh Chin, he's going to have to start at the back of the grid, and he's going to have to work his way through. About an hour and 40 minutes this race is going to last for, so there is still time for him to do so, as qualifying looks as though it's going to be bringing itself to a close. The last few drivers, the drivers are going to be just very leisurely finishing off these final laps or so as qualifying comes to an end. The drivers will be able to head themselves down to the grid, and a full pace lap here, Randy. 4-mile circuit. These guys have got a lot of time to work out what they're going to be doing at the start of this race.
Yeah, of course, it's one of the things that's, a little bit antiquated, that what we have on the sim. We're used to really having the shorter grids here these days, especially, it's like basically just coming off the final couple corners at most tracks on the iRacing sim these days, and that's immediately where you get thrown out there onto the racing circuit. So you only spend maybe about a minute pacing, if that. Here we're going to be seeing about a 5-minute pace lap as these guys get ready to get themselves set up and go racing.
And that means that we have a lot of time to talk about what we could see in this event. It also means that we've got some time to take you through the grid at a bit more of a leisurely pace than we may do at some of the ovals in this championship, where it's sort of 30 seconds and all of a sudden they're under green flag conditions. But everyone currently making their way down to the starting grid. And the iRacing pace car is going to lead them round for a full lap. And while that is all happening, we can take you through your starting grid. Pole position by over half a second is going to be Ronnie Nunez, and Torque Freak Racing on his debut, getting his first ever pole in the Classic IndyCar Series. Jamie Wilson, his best qualifying yet, going to be lining up in second position alongside on the front row. The fast Frenchman, Mr. Lucas Laville, is going to be lining up in third, with his teammate Timo Sinyemi lining up in fourth. Robert Grosser is going to make it a logical Vortex Sim Racing 3-4-5 on the grid today, with a championship leader of Matt Cook lining up in sixth. The only car and one of the drivers in the battle for third place in the championship going to be lining up seventh, and Jos van der Ven having a good qualifying. He's going to be lining up in eighth. Steven Spantig and Sasha Lamp, two Torque Freak Racing teammates, are going to be rounding out the top 10. Johnny Garrett, Vestula Ollie are going to be starting in 11th and 12th, with Jan Hoffman and Randy Shoemate going to be starting behind them. Josh Baird, who we had our lap on board with just a few moments ago, lining up in 15th. Marshall Stanley going to be lining up in 16th, with Hans Pickenen and Mike Gelliker starting in 17th and 18th. Carsten Brodby and the driver of Franz Josef Stum is going to be rounding out your top 20 here today, and the rest of the grid is going to be Andrew Aitken, Jonathan Diggs, and then Josh Chin lining up in 23rd position at the very back of the grid. Logan Simmons is going to be a non-starter, possibly a pit lane start from him. Andre Delino, Tristan Hauser, and Zachary Svahar not putting in lap times, and also not getting themselves down on to the starting grid. As the drivers head into turn number 1, Randy, this is going to be where they're going to start to think about things. The pace is going to be ramping up. They're going to know roughly what they're going to be doing as from their strategies. Caution shouldn't be a problem here today, because of course road courses, they just use the local yellows.
Shouldn't have any issues with those local yellows whatsoever here today. So as these guys really take themselves out there, they're going to definitely be thinking about what they're going to be doing in strategy, maybe what this racetrack feels like. We'll bring the track graphic back up and talk about the weather, because we did it. And hey, would you look at that? It's actually kind of mild for once for the Classic IndyCar Series. Not too hot, not too cold. 80 degrees Fahrenheit ambient, 113 degrees track temp, which is a little on the high side, but that's not the extreme racing on the sun we've typically had in this season thus far.
And also you will see that we do have a 17 km/h headwind. That is a direct headwind down the main straight, but that is going to be vitally important when we get to the end of the second straight. Currently Weatherfield is heading into turn number 5, because they're going to have a tailwind into this braking zone, Randy, and also into the kink as well. That is going to be a tailwind turning into a crosswind, and when that's at 20 km/h with cars that do rely on downforce, that could be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And this, one of the difficult things with these race cars is when you have those sort of high-speed corners, especially at turn 1, like you said, getting a headwind all the way down the front straightaway, that's going to hold you up. It's going to make that car maybe feel like it has a little bit more grip in the braking zone. You're not going to be hitting quite the sort of top speeds that you might have been doing so in your warm-up sessions, in your practice sessions, and you're going to turn across turn 1, and you're going to get that big gust of air right to the side. It's going to make it really difficult to hold on to these race cars. It's going to definitely add to some excitement going into turn 1, especially that headwind, Jack. That's going to make things so much fun with the slipstreaming, knowing that car that's not only having to break the air that's leading a potential pack, but they're having to be the car that fights the wind. If you're in the draft, suddenly you're not only breaking the air, you're not fighting wind either.
And at 5 km/h, that could make a tiny difference, and one which could mean an overtake at 20 km/h. That is going to be an even bigger difference. This is the kink. This is the corner where it can either go so right or so wrong, and in a split second, everything can go very, very wrong. Some very large accidents we've seen here in multiple series. The one, of course, I mentioned earlier was Champ Car with Catherine Legg. I believe that was back in 2006, where she flipped over, and the only real thing left that you could see of the car was the monocoque and the tub that she was still encrowded in. She walked away from that one, luckily, but a very, very scary incident. Hopefully we won't see any like that today with these drivers. But as they head into Canada corner, everything is now going to be starting to ramp up. The pace car, in just a few moments' time, will head itself off onto pit lane, and the field will be under the control of Ronnie Nunez for the very first time in his Classic IndyCar Series career. A very accomplished driver as Ronnie, someone who has been very quick over the years in multiple disciplines. And am I going mad, Randy, or has Jamie Wilson disappeared?
Oh no. Oh no. Jamie, please.
So before the race is even before the race has even started, it looks as though we've already lost the second position car on the grid. That means Timo Sinyemi gets a free start. We are racing here at Road America, and the jump from Timo Sinyemi was incredible. However, he's going to quickly let up as he crosses the line. I think for Timo Sinyemi, that may be a stop-go penalty, or a penalty of some sort. He's dropped himself back in the field, but one driver who also got an incredible start, looking around the outside at turn number 1, is going to be Matt Cook, getting himself up into second position. Luke Seville was putting just a little bit of pressure on him going into the apex of the corner. However, no move was going to happen.
A little bit of contact in the mid-pack. I think that may have been the 167 of Jos van de Ven, who got a little bit of a touch going in towards turn 3 on the brakes. That car looks okay. May have been the likes of Joni Kaisen getting into the back of them, not exactly sure, as this field roars down in towards turn 5 for the first time, and up now towards that Corvette bridge at the top of the hill, turn 6 here at the top of the hill, and then a quick right-hand flick at turn 7. That is going to be nearly flat in these cars if you have the downforce on it. It's going to be maybe a little bit of a lift if you haven't turned out, and then down the hurry downs in towards turn 8. Very difficult corner here at the bottom of the hill. Easy to lock up both front and rear tires and get the balance of that car messed up. But right now, all your leaders into the carousel clean for the first time.
And everyone running line and stern by the looks of things. Logan Simmons is underway after his pit lane start, but it looks as though, from listening to Timo Sunyemi's engine notes, he sounds as though he may be running the lower downforce setup on that number 43 machine. But up at the front of the field, still Ronnie Nunez with just over a second over the driver of Matt Cook. We know that Matt is fast. He's shown that all year long. Clearly didn't have that strong of a qualifying as we run aboard with the number 43. It's going to be interesting, Randy, to see if he dives off onto pit lane to serve a penalty, because I'm not sure whether he's going to get down for a jump start. However, we will look at that in just a few moments' time, because the driver who started in 9th position, Steven Spantig, one of the other Torque Freak racing cars, has gone round at Canada corner. Doesn't look like it was any contact. Simply looks like a little bit too much power, a little bit too much revs, and not enough rear grip.
Yeah, we'll bring that up on your screen as it politely points the camera at nothing, but see Steven Spantig down here in towards Canada corner, and that's attempting, I think, to pass a teammate there, but that didn't really end up working out for him. Ends up spooling those rear tires up, spinning him up, and not much he can do at that point as we're going to start and actually start working on lap number 2, which means we can start getting that ticker rolling up there in that top corner. And man, what an exciting first lap. Drama for your outside pole sitter on the pace lap. Just, I think a hectic race or a hectic start for everyone in general.
And it does look as though the number 43, Timo Sunyemi, has had a stop and go penalty. He has served that. He's back out of the way. However, he is now dead last in the field, so a lot to do for the Finn. It's also going to harm him just a little bit in the championship. Of course, these guys do have drop weeks that they can rely on. However, you only get 3 over the course of the year, so you do not want to be making too many mistakes. Currently looking at the driver of Jos van der Ven, running up in 5th position. A very good start for the 167. The Dutchman only running ahead of Robert Grosser as they head through the carousel.
Actually, just ahead of him, Lucas Seville and Joni Kaisen, they've swapped positions. And Joni has gotten that position away as they go through the kink through the second time. Look at the gap. Excuse me, your top 2 are already stretching out of Ronnie Nunez and Matt Cook. Nearly a 1.5 second gap they have over just about everyone else at the moment. So top 2 looking very, very pacey right now.
And these guys, I feel, for the opening laps are just going to work themselves away from the rest of the field, get themselves in a nice, comfortable position, and then they can start thinking about who's going to be taking themselves down onto victory lane. I was informed earlier that Ronnie Nunez was looking fast, and by Jove he is, as they come across the line to complete lap number 2 of 55 in this event. And the gap between them is just going to be 0.4 of a second. Matt Cook is closing. Last time around, he was 0.7 of a second quicker. Fastest lap of the race so far, and so far is looking to be almost a second quicker than anyone else out on the racetrack at the moment.
And that's not much of a surprise with sort of the pace we've seen from Matt Cook thus far this season, and his ability to maybe start chasing down Ronnie Nunez here as they work down turns 3 and 4. This is turn 4, of course, technically, and into the Moraine sweep. This quick, sort of slightly left-hand kinked downhill sector in towards the braking zone for turn 5. They're going to stay single file, and we talk about the fact that this is a potential fuel save race here with the different strategy options, either going for the 2 or 3 stopper, and this is sort of one of the things that Matt Cook has always been strong at, being able to save gas and being able to take those advantages and find those alternate strategies. So look for this 6-car Matt Cook to work that as well. But of course, the other driver, really the premier driver, I think, in this championship in regards to this fuel saving jack. Driver who started in 23rd spot, who's already up 10 positions, who, due to a penalty, started at the back. Joshua Chin, we've seen him have fantastic fuel saving performances on the iRacing Esports Network for years, of course, Team Chimera winning the SCO 10 Hours of Suzuka off the back of Josh saving fuel and getting us into a potential strategy position. And Josh is just on a next level of fuel saving. So if anyone is going to pull off the two-stopper and do so quicker than anyone else, I think it's going to be this number 93 right here, especially because he gets to sort of, in some ways, it's almost a bonus, Jack. He starts in the back of the field, gets buried behind a bunch of people. He's going to have slipstream the entirety of this race.
He is, as the track temperature looks to be rising just a little bit, but we will keep you updated on the weather, of course, all the way through this race as they exit themselves out of turn number 14. We've got the first car that looks to be having an unscheduled stop. That's Logykal in the 77. He's down onto pit lane after 3 laps. I can't see any damage on that car, actually, Randy. So I wonder why Yoni's coming in. Is that also another penalty from the start, potentially?
Could be. I haven't seen anything. He's going to be pulling into his box, and we'll pull up to see how long he's going to spend on pit road. I think he may have given someone a touch in the early goings of this race. Car gets jacked up, and let's see how long he sits down here on pit road. Even if it's a tires and fuel sort of stop, it shouldn't be long, and this looks to seem to have the sort of, actually 11 seconds. That almost seems more like repairs to me than it does a penalty. That's really short. If it was a stop and go, only about 8 seconds. So I think maybe some repairs on that 77 car, maybe some sort of awkward contact that was hampering the driving of that car, but regardless, not going to put him in a great situation either way.
No, and I think I do agree with that. So Logykal, another driver who early on has had a few issues, and once again been cycled to the back of the field. We have lost the number 31 of Mike Gerlicher. He has had to tow back to pit lane on that last lap around. Not quite sure what come over Mike, and it looks as though it's into turn number 1. Doesn't look to be any contact. There was a spinner ahead. Oh, that was quite a big hit on the inside for him, and a lot of damage sustained for Mr. Gerlicher.
Trying to get a replay of that incident for everyone, and I think this might be it right here. Going down in towards turn number 1, and let's see what happens. Oh yeah, you can hear the tires of the cars in front of them just stack up, and not much Mike could really do there. We'll rewind this camera again, get a better camera shot of exactly what happened. We'll go blimp cam for this one to see what exactly befallen the driver of Mike Gerlicher. And let's see, in towards turn 1, and those are trees.
Well, if you're interested in trees, there's a lot of them. However, that isn't really the best camera. We'll try again and see if we get a better view for you. As we're looking down, you can see at the front, that's Randy Shoemake. And Mike Gerlicher is currently the one being overtaken. That's Carson Brovey coming up the inside. Brovey is looking to move. I think he may have just spooked the driver of Shoemake, and Mike Gerlicher had nowhere to go in that instant. I think Randy Shoemake, just losing the rear end, spooked the drivers behind him just a little bit. Avoidance was attempted, but unfortunately not successful.
And look at this, nearly 3 wide going down this run from turn 3 in towards turn 5. Joshua Chin trying to set up the move up the middle as he's trying to work his way up through this field as quickly as he can. But Marshall Stanley and Jason Garrett not making it easy on the driver, the number 93. He's going to get by one of those drivers out down there at turn 5 and then up in towards under the Corvette Bridge and through turn 6. Josh is now going to set his sights, I believe, on Johnny Garrett, and indeed it is, as they're going to go down the hurry downs. Potential passing opportunity here, and actually Johnny's just going to give it to him. So Josh Chin, couple of passes there, one of them a freebie, as he's now, I think, comfortably inside the top 10. He puts himself 9th after that pass there through the hurry downs.
And we have got a car stopped, and it's the same. It's a set driver having another incident in this race on his own. Stephen Spantig again at the Corvette corner. Looks as though he's just gone in and overcooked the rear end. A little bit too hot. And around he went. His debut as well in the Classic IndyCar Series for the Torque Freak Racing driver. Replay up on your screen.
Let's see what befell this number 71 car up towards the Corvette Bridge. Another difficult corner, difficult to sort of work the balance of the race car, and you see that. I mean, you're fighting grip all the way up and down that sort of hill, because it's sort of a crest there at the apex of that corner, Jack. I know you'll be more than familiar with it, but it can make it difficult if you've not got the braking just quite right. If you got maybe a little bit too much bias dialed in front and rear, as you sort of crest the hill of that apex, the weight distribution of the car changes, and you can go from locking up a front tire to locking up a rear tire, or you can go from not locking up to locking up, or you can go from locking up to not locking up. So it's a difficult sort of corner to sort of situate yourself and be comfortable with getting through there, and that's the first incident we've seen there today. But I think as this track rubbers in and slickens off, we'll probably see a couple more spinners there over the next 49 laps.
Yeah, and also one thing the drivers are going to notice is they go over the brow of the hill, the car's going to get slightly light. There's a circuit in the UK that does that called Cadwell Park, a brilliant corner where you come out of a chicane and up a very steep hill and over the top. There's quite a few famous pictures of superbikes going over there with no wheels on the tarmac, and over the top of here the car's going to get light, you're going to lose a little bit of downforce, and you've got to take that into consideration when you're braking for that corner. And that really is what makes it tricky. As we're looking at Matt Cook, he's dropped back a little bit now from the driver of Ronnie Nunez. 1.5 seconds between the two drivers now. It looks as though Matt's had his fast laps of the race and all of a sudden burnt out his tyres, or Ronnie Nunez has got into his rhythm and is starting to pull away.
Well, we do know that the tires on these older classic Indy cars tend to last quite a while, Jack, so I think the tires themselves should be kind of all right for everyone involved. Not really a hot day like we said on the sim. The track temp's decently warm, but it's not scorching hot either. It's just sort of right there in that middle ground that you would like either way, one way or the other. So I don't think the tires are likely going to be an issue here for Matt Cook. I think Ronnie Nunez just has something in the setup that I don't think anyone else has here. As we're actually going down in towards turn 5, I want to start taking a look at what the top speed traps are for all of these drivers out there on the racetrack. We'll bring up the kilometers an hour marker as we run down in towards turn 5. We'll try to catch what the top speed is here for Ronnie Nunez and shift back over to Matt Cook. 288, 289, about 290 Ks for him. Matt Cook 2 kph slower in towards turn 5. Maybe some differences in aero there.
There could be, which is also going to play into consideration when we get to the pit stops, as Matt Cook making a mistake into Corvette corner as he headed over the top of the hill, getting his braking slightly wrong, just out braking himself as he now heads himself down the hurry downs.
And I actually want to bring this back through the carousel as well. Let's see, about 226 the top speed there for Ronnie Nunez going through that corner. Didn't quite catch what the top speed there was for Matt Cook, but I actually seemed like maybe Matt's top speed through the corner may have been a little bit higher on average, so we'll have to wait and see. Excuse me, as my throat is all sorts of messed up this morning.
As they head themselves down into Canada corner, I have a feeling that Matt Cook and Ronnie Nunez are running very similar setups when it comes to downforces. Joni Kynan has had issues at turn number 5. Not sure if there was anyone else involved just yet, as the 23 is also around a Josh Baird at the exit of the hurry downs. So drivers already hitting issues early on. It looks as though a lot of people are having single car spins as we look at the driver of Josh Baird to find out what happened to him.
We're a little bit sort of before the incident here. Of course, it happens down at the hurry downs. That's going to be in about 5 seconds time through this Corvette bridge. So we talked about how difficult it was there, and then see Matt Cook basically on cue make a mistake there a couple of laps later through the fast right-hand kink in towards the hurry downs. Likely going to happen on the brakes, maybe on the turn-in point here, and there's a mistake right there. Just those back tires just give up grip, and that's just always seemed to me, Jack, like one of the most difficult tracks on the entire service. Of when you lose rear grip at the apex of that corner down there at the bottom of the hill, it is so difficult to get it back. It feels like once you start sliding, you're almost guaranteed just to end up facing the wrong way. Not much you can really do about it.
I think I would definitely agree with that. When I've raced at Road America personally, not in Indy cars, but in other machinery, usually GT cars, as soon as you start to slide, you know you're in trouble, because you know that you're going to have to really work to get that car back. And if you spin, you can lose a lot of time. We ride on board with Jos van der Ven still sitting up in 6th position. Sasha Lamp ahead, Robert Grosser at the front of this pack now. Robert Grosser's worked himself up into 4th, and he can now set down on chasing Mr. Lucas Laville in 3rd. But for Jos van der Ven, a really good run today for someone who we usually see just outside the top 10.
Yeah, a lot of drivers. I mean, Road America is a track a lot of people are really, really familiar with, and especially because just the way the track is. It's not the most technically difficult track in the world. There's a couple corners, like we said, that are difficult. Turn 3 can be a little bit difficult in terms of the maintaining rear traction. Turn 5 as well, Corvette Bridge, and the one at the bottom of the hill, the hurry downs. There is kind of a sequence of difficult corners back to back to back in terms of maintaining traction, but it's not like some other places where you have to be like inch perfect, especially in these cars. So much grip on these machines that a lot of the faster corners are basically just a maybe not even really a braking zone. It's just a slight drag of the brakes into or maybe even a quick lift in some situations. So it's not the most technically difficult racetrack in the world. So because of that, you do often see some people maybe pushing and punching a little bit above their weight here. And Jos van der Ven, certainly one of those in the 167, doing quite well as you see him storming towards turn 1, trying to keep up with the 42 of Sasha Lamp.
I did hear Jos van der Ven last time around having a little bit of a lift through the kink, so it does sound as though he's running a slightly lower downforce setup, and I think a lot of people are going for the lower downforce setup today. Wouldn't be surprised because of the track temperature as someone went. Some people did go higher to give him a little bit more grip, as the 71, Steven Spantig, he's had another issue here, Randy. Another single car spin, but this time coming through turn 13A.
So let's see what happens here to the number 71 car. Through Canada corner once again, so through there, probably going to be this fast left-hander, and, well, this time we got blocked by trees earlier. This time we get blocked by that slight rise. We'll rewind the cameras back just a little bit more for you. And let's see exactly what happened, but I think it's just a traditional sort of probably caught that curb on the inside. Actually, no, I don't think he caught it at all. I think just regardless, struggling with the handling on that race car is the Torque Freak Racing Machine with Steven Spantig. So unfortunate there, and kind of odd, especially considering that you have Torque Freak car that's out there pretty much dominating this race throughout the first 10 laps here, Jack, and some of his teammates struggling a little bit with this race car at the moment as he's going to start lap number 10 with pretty much a 3-second gap.
Yeah, it's a brilliant run so far by Ronnie Nunez, and as he does that, fastest lap of the motor race so far, 1:45.2, and he'd already beaten Matt Cook's one just a couple of laps ago. As we still look at Nunez as he heads himself into turn number 3 and down the Moraine sweep down towards turn number 5. Sacha Lamp, one of his teammates, currently sat in 5th position. He's up 5 places, but of course, biggest mover and shaker so far in the race, down in 8th position. Josh Chin after the opening 10 laps as we see him come into turn number 1. Next target for him is Vesiula Ollier, but as it stands at the moment, Randy, everyone's just found themselves out just a little bit out on track. They're all settling into the rhythms, and now it's going to be starting to think about the long game.
And taking a look at those fastest laps compared to what Josh Chin is doing, Josh is about 3 to 4 tenths off of that. So Josh not far off the driver that's logging laps that are quickest of the race at the moment, and he's definitely quicker than the driver that he's coming up on as we take a look at the lap gaps compared to the number 96 that he's slowly creeping up on. Just a casual 1.5 to 2 seconds quicker thereabouts every single trip around the racetrack. That's usually good to get a pass done.
Still looking at this battle, he is getting closer now within 0.8 of a second. Vesiula Ollier as they head down to the end of the hurry downs, and it's going to be the carousel where he can gain back some more time if he's got a good setup on that car, if he's got some good grip, good line through here, and he'll get a good run. A little bit of dirty air maybe affecting him as he hits the middle of the corner, and it may have done because he's lost a couple of tenths there as they head up towards the kink. Lift for Josh Chin, so again running this slightly slicker downforce setup where maybe the car just isn't right for that flat out through the kink. High downforce though in one of these cars, you can take that kink flat out.
And it's also going to be just a handling situation as well. Of course, we talked about that track temp maybe being slightly elevated. You may be just sort of trimming the throttle a little bit just to help the tires there. I do know that from talking to Josh when they were testing yesterday, himself and Jamie Wilson, Josh was complaining about dirty air, and I can tell you right now, they were going for the trimmed out setup option. So look at the way that he's able just to cruise up here on that car of Vesiula Ollier just ahead of him, and well, not really much he can do about it, and I have a feeling that 96 behind him, Jack, maybe running a slightly higher aero trim, given the way that Josh basically just cruised on by there at seemingly, like, that was about 15 miles an hour quicker, it looked like.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Vesiula Ollier definitely running that higher downforce setup. It is going to mean that he can't go as far on fuel with. It looks as though today the low downforce setup without fuel saving can get you 18 laps into this race on this first stint. High downforce, however, you're only going to be able to do 17. And to do that on 2 stops, you'll need to do a bit of fuel saving. What we may have seen early on from Joni Kainen's always been the one who's had a bit of the adventurous strategy so far this year, Randy, is that he's pitted early and got that first pit stop out of the way, so he can now go flat out on a high downforce setup.
But I don't understand why his pit stop was so long at 11 seconds. Did he, you know what, I almost wonder, do you think he forgot to put the race setup on and went out on the qualifying setup? Because if he was doing a short fill early, there's no reason, it would make no sense whatsoever for you to go out with anything less than full fuel in the car. Even if you plan on coming down pit road early, you just come down, you get tires, and you take fuel, and you get out as quickly as possible. doing an 11-second stop, trying to, say, get the short stop out of the way, you'd want that pit stop to be somewhere in the realm of 5 to 6 seconds, not 11. I almost think that's 77, because an 11-second stop, that screams to me, Jack, a complete full fuel fill and tires. I think he was out there for the first opening laps on the qualifying set.
And now I think about it, that could be true. So we currently look at Logykal down in 19th position, making his way through the cake and up towards Canada corner at the moment. Braking for that. Braking zone for Canada corner can be interesting as we put our eyes back forward to the driver currently running down in 8th position. Now sort of left on his own here, Randy. 2 seconds ahead to Josh Chin, and that gap is opening. Jan Hoffman is 5 seconds behind in the Logykal Vortex Sim Racing car as we look back from Josh Chin.
Yeah, and you see sort of the gap that Josh has already opened up for himself. It's only been a single lap, and he's already pretty much blitzing his way up the road. And next driver we're going to have in line is going to be Jos van de Ven. We'll bring up the lap gaps and the comparison to show. And again, this is still, Josh hasn't really hit a hamper in terms of cars. He's just flat out outpacing at the moment. 2.5 per lap in favor of the number 93. And by that point, he'll be to the back of that car in front of him of the Outcast Racing team by about this point on the next lap.
And it will coming through to Carousel. So for Josh Chin, he's now got a lap to think about where he's going to be the best place to try and get past Jos van de Ven. I can't see Jos putting on much of a fight for the position. However, Josh Chin is still going to have to work to get himself into 6th position. And they're not far up the road. In fact, he could be able to see them. That's 4th and 5th. That's Robert Gosher and Sasha Lamb in a very close battle at the moment.
And that's, I think, going to be somewhere in the realm of where Josh starts getting hampered by times. But even then, you look at Robert Grosser, he's been doing laps in the mid to high 146s, whereas Josh is in the 145s. Josh is doing the same sort of times that the likes of Ronnie Nunez and Matt Cook are doing. And even then, third place running car Lucas Seville, going to be in the same situation as well with him. So Josh, at the moment, he has on pace, I think, Jack, the speed to get to the top 3 before we go halfway in this race, which is going to be remarkable pace from him. I don't think he's going to be able to get to the likes of Ronnie Nunez and Matt Cook too easily, even in the full 55-lap distance. But I think after we've come down pit road once, seen scheduled pit stops, and get back out there on the racetrack, Josh is going to be nearly inside of your podium positions as you see up the inside for him on Jos van de Ven. He's going to make that look easy on the run in towards turn 5, so move him into the top 6. Next in line will be the 42 of Sasha Lamb, and that'll be for a top 5 position.
And he will be able to see Sasha Lamp ahead. And of course, this battle with Robert Grosser, we know that Robert won't let a position go easily, and Sasha, I expect to do the same thing. So far, Josh Chin looks as though he's got past cars ahead of him in a nice, easy fashion in the opening 13 laps of this motor race. But from now on, it's all going to be about getting that move done in the best possible place through to Carousel. Carousel, a very interesting corner, Randy, because you do have to live off halfway around the corner. You do not, sometimes you don't think you have to. You think, oh, I can do this flat, it'll be fine. But there are situations, especially on a hard track like today, where you do have to lift out the throttle, just let the car take itself through the corner before you can reapply that power.
And it's sort of a corner kind of like the final corner at Sebring. Everyone talks about with the bumps in the center of the corner at Sebring, how everyone really takes that corner at Sebring a little bit different. It's the same here at Road America through the Carousel. There's a few different lines you can potentially take. You can enter the corner a little bit higher up, an apex later on. You can sort of diamond the corner. You can run the full inside and take the shortest potential radius all the way through the Carousel. There really is a couple options here as you see Josh now working the slipstream and already onto the back of the number 42 of Sasha Lamp, but there's a couple different options you can really do through there, and everyone sort of does it a little bit differently, especially with how they model they handle and modulate the throttle and brake pedals. Might be, you might drag the brake a little bit to help get the car turned in. You're definitely going to be lifting, like you said, about midway, mid-corner before you basically stamp on the throttle. There's no real throttle control there. You basically get to the point that the throttle's going to the nose is going to stick, and you basically put that thing flat out as soon as you can. As you see Josh pick up another spot there on his run in towards now what'll be into the top 4. But, just so many ways going through the Carousel. And we talk about the different setup options here today, Jack. That's going to have a big effect on how you handle that Carousel. If you've got a lot more aero on the car, you're probably going to be nearly a second to a second and a half quicker just through the Carousel compared to those drivers that have a bunch of aero trimmed out of the car. There's going to be a huge speed gap through this corner, I think, with those with the aero trimmed out versus those with a bunch of downforce loaded onto the car. And that's going to handle things as well, especially as well if you get caught behind lap traffic. Because let me tell you, there's nothing worse on one of these road courses than having the car trimmed out and being behind a bunch of traffic going through a lot of downforce reliant corners.
And one thing as well that we do need to think about, we've said it of course earlier, that Josh Chin, one of the best fuel savers you will find here in the Classic IndyCar Series and probably in the whole of iRacing, but he's still got this issue of all the way through this first stint, he has been pushing that car like mad, and he's going to be using fuel. Is he going to then go into his fuel saving mode after this first stop, as he's currently standing in the slipstream with Robert Grosser. Grosser moves over to the left side of the racetrack as we head up across the start finish line down into turn number 1, running on board with Chin. To the inside he will go. Grosser's got nothing he can do, he's just going to let the position go. Joshua Chin all of a sudden up into the top 4, and he can set his sights ahead. But Matt Cook from second position after just 15 laps here, Randy, he's into the pits.
Oh,
done
you're
his
right.
first stop.
This is definitely an interesting call from him. So this tells me that he's going to be on for a 3-stopper. He has to be.
Yeah, you can't do 2-stop from here. No way.
So he's 3-stopping. Next is going to be, what does Ronnie Nunez do? He's seen the pace difference between Ronnie and Matt. What's interesting to me, Jack, is that Matt, when we sort of did his sector times and the top speed splits, Matt did not seem slow in a straight line. He seemed like he had good pace. So for Matt Cook to be coming down pit road this early tells me that it's really hard to get to that 3-stopper if he's running that car trimmed out. So it'll be interesting to see how this pans out, and maybe if we see Ronnie Nunez come down in the next couple of laps, might kind of give us an idea of how difficult it is to make that 2-stopper work.
And as Ronnie Nunez brings himself through the last corner, does he head over to the right-hand side of the racetrack? He does not, so he's going to carry on for another lap. As expected, 15 laps is still a little bit earlier than I would have expected for this first stint. Or it actually was 14 laps from Matt Cook, that first stint. So definitely on a 3-stopper. 2-stopper, you probably want to be pitting more closer to the 18-19 mark. And if you've been saving some fuel,
Josh!
that's going to be a lot more possible. Joshua Chin almost losing the rear end, coming through the last corner. A brilliant save and a rare one, which we see here at Road America.
Well, I wanted to take a look at the top speed for Josh going into turn 1 to compare to Ronnie Nunez, where we saw 281 kilometers an hour, but he immediately just messes up that corner, as actually Jan Hoffman's going to go into the pits as well. So maybe this is the high downforce sort of pit window. Let's see what the top speed is for Matt Cook. 281, like we said, for Ronnie Nunez in towards turn 1, and Matt Cook is going to be 5 kph slower. 4 maybe there near the end. That's what I'm thinking here, Jack. I mean, I think it's obvious Matt has a little more aero dialed onto that car, but it's only like 4 kilometers an hour worth going in towards turn 1. We saw something similar as well. We look at the splits going into I believe it was turn 5 as well. I'm not really sure why Matt's using so much more fuel than this 99 of Ronnie Nunez, who now at this point is going 2 laps further, and really in terms of top speed, not much quicker. The lap times are quicker, but nothing else besides that.
And I mean, you were saying about the speed trap for Josh Chin into turn number 1. That lap that he had that instant, he still managed 281. So that Team Chimera car, a really trimmed out machine here today, as Ronnie Nunez again through the last corner. We will see whether he comes down onto pit road or not. Isn't going to. So I think Ronnie Nunez running a slightly slicker car. Well, I don't understand. Yeah, it's the same. I don't understand why Matt Cook's using that little bit more fuel when the top speed is slightly different. Let's have a look at the top speed. What the top speed is like for Ronnie Nunez into turn number 1 this time.
282.
282. And also, one other thing to remember is Matt Cook's now got a full tank of fuel. The driver of Ronnie Nunez doesn't.
Possibly. We'll see if this maybe is potentially different for Josh Chin here. Like I said, I know for a fact that the Team Chimera drivers were working on trimming out the car last night. It's something they really found quick. Let's see what the top speed is going to be like for Josh Chin. 280, 281. It's actually going to go quicker than your race leader. He hits 283 on the run in towards turn 1. So the top speed definitely in favor for the likes of Nunez and Josh Chin. We'll check Lucas LaVille as well next time going down in towards that sector of the racetrack. But Lucas just has not had the sort of speed that those other two have had. As we'll bring up the lap gaps here, as Josh Chin has been reeling him in. But finally hitting a little bit of difficulty. He's not reeling him in by about a second and a half a lap like he was the other drivers here, Jack, but still a considerable margin for Josh to be reeling in this number 2 Vortex Sim Racing car of Lucas Laville. You see the slowest of the last 3 laps, he reeled in 3.5 tenths, which is always nice to hear in your radio if you're Josh Chin.
And it does show just how much the driver of Josh Chin is pushing in this race with 38 laps remaining. Not even close to the halfway stage just yet in this race. Another 10-12 laps to go before we hit that, but Josh Chin clearly showing that he wants this win more than anything. The points as well are going to be interesting. If he can get himself in front of Matt Cook, score those few extra points, it's really going to help him in the championship as we look back towards 10th position in the race now. This is Johnny Garrett currently in a battle with Carsten Brodby for P number 9.
Separated just a little bit of these two as they work down the bottom of the hill in towards the carousel for what is going to be the 17th time on their lap. So, or excuse me, 17th time of the race thus far as they work through. And actually, I'm still, I got to say, Jack, I'm pretty sad that I think we may have lost out on quite a fun battle because this driver, Jamie Wilson, having the technical issues in the early goings, he's put in some quick laps. His fastest lap of the race thus far is only 3/10 off the best of Ronnie Nunez. So for Jamie having that technical issues on what was a great quality, what do you got?
Just in a new fastest lap from Josh Chin, and he's gone 3/10 faster than Ronnie Nunez did on his fastest lap. He pulled in 1.3 seconds last time round from Lucas Laville, so clearly still not giving up on this position. A little bit of lap traffic ahead of him in the form of the number 45 machine. That's going to be Jonathan Diggs, who is currently running down in 21st position, the last car on the lead lap currently as it stands. This is going to be no problem for Mr. Chin.
Yeah, he's going to pick that spot up, I think, comfortably here in towards turn 5. You know, well, not that spot, but that get the lap traffic in the rear view as they go under the Corvette bridge. So Josh looking quick regardless with that 144.7. Great speed there. But, I mean, that 87 car, whether or not he had the pace to fight with Ronnie, I think is, you know, sort of, I think, up in the air, debatable here, Jack. But I think he would have been fun to watch fight with the likes of Lucas Laville when Josh eventually got up to him, and as well as the 6 of Matt Cook. We would have had ourselves, I think, a nice 3 or 4 car scrap that because of that, our race leaders have kind of just gotten strung out, I think, as a result of the technical issues for the number 87 Team Camaro driver.
At the end of this lap is going to be starting to look towards the people who are going to be two-stopping. Those guys who...
Well, there comes your first one. Ronnie Nunez hits the lane.
Yeah, Ronnie Nunez, our race leader so far, onto the pit lane. And this is now going to be interesting. Where is Matt Cook going to emerge behind him? The lap times have been pretty close so far. Matt Cook currently working himself up towards Canada corner. And Ronnie Nunez only just now starting to reach the pit stalls, Randy. This is going to be really close on the exit pit lane.
Yeah, you see where Matt Cook is right here. And we'll just get a sort of a reminder. 9.2 second stop for Matt Cook. So it was a little bit on the shorter end. If you're going to be two-stopping here, you're going to be filling this thing up to the brim. I expect nearly an 11-second stop here for Ronnie Nunez if he plans on making the two-stopper work. What do you mean it's not enough?
It's not enough. Matt Cook is now coming across the line. It's going to be really close as they come out of the pit lane. And you'll be able to see Matt Cook just go in front of the picture as there. Ronnie Nunez exiting the pits. Matt Cook blasting himself into the lead. And he's going to have about a 3-second advantage once Ronnie Nunez is back up to speed.
And look who's gone an extra lap. Number 93 of Joshua Chin, going to be scored as your race leader, has not yet come down pit road. Actually, take that back. He's currently scored second. I believe we're waiting for our timing and scoring to update on that. So Josh getting phenomenal fuel economy while logging some of the fastest laps in the race we've seen. But Matt Cook having the race lead here, Jack. This is potentially important here because it's going to be fun to watch. If on every pit stop, Matt is a couple seconds quicker on pit road, we'll just remind ourselves again, a 9.2 second stop for Matt Cook that last time down pit road, and find Ronnie Nunez out here an 11.2 stop. That's going to be about 5 seconds through these first 2 pit stops that Matt Cook will have an advantage over the likes of the 99 and the 93 and everyone else who's going to be going for the 2-stopper. But, of course, going for an extra pit stop here, Jack, that's going to work out the other way. So, basically right now, if you're the 99, if you're the 93, all these cars are going extra stops. You have to know that eventually that number 6 car, Matt Cook, is going to have nearly an extra minute spent on pit lane at some point in this race compared to you. As let's see, Josh Chin, he's going to hit pit road this time. And he actually gets caught up behind lap traffic. Maybe not able to go as quickly into the pit entry as he would like. Caught up behind Randy Shoemake.
And as Josh Chin enters onto pit lane, Matt Cook and Ronnie Nunez will go blasting past to regain their first and second position scorings in the races. We had ourselves onto lap number 20. We're just seeing Matt Cook come over the brow of the hill, but it's not going to be a full stop. That third stop for Matt Cook is going to probably be about a 3 or 4 second stop. I expect him to keep the same set of tyres on, Randy, but it's still going to be a long run down pit lane. I mean, you're looking start to finish without even stopping in your pit box. A run down the pit lane here at Road America, still 30 seconds.
A long pit stop for Josh Chin, and I think he may be going here early just to get the thing filled to the brim here strategy. 13.5 is what he spent on in his pit box there. Compare that to Ronnie Nunez, who's down there for 11.7. And I actually really like that call for Josh Chin, if that's the call he's making there, to fill that thing up as high as he possibly can and as much as he possibly can. Make sure he gets that extra bit of a fuel into the race car. We know he already went 1 lap further than Ronnie on that opening stint. If he has more fuel in the car now, that could potentially be an extra 3 or 4 laps into the next stint, and that's going to be a huge advantage for him going into the final stop, which will likely be a shorter fill for him because of it.
And this is where the pit stops really do start playing themselves out as to where we're going to see these guys emerge at the end of the second round of pit stops. And for those drivers who pitted early as well, are going to go for the third. As we're looking at the driver currently sat in second position, he's dominated since the start, lost the lead in this first round of pit stops. We're going to take you for a lap of Road America on board with Ronnie Nunez into RaceSpot TV Fan Immersion. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to RaceSpot TV and the iRacing Esports Network. We are just having a few technical issues. We'll be back with you as soon as possible. But while this is going on, Joni Kainen has come down onto the pit lane to make his second stop of the race. He's going to be out of the way in just a few moments' time. Josh Chin is back out of the way. Currently running in 4th, about 4 seconds behind the driver of Lucas Laville. And the only other close battles that I can see out on track currently, the battle for 9th position still going on between the drivers of Carson Brovey and Johnny Garrett. And it looks as though... No, Johnny Garrett hasn't indeed got past, but they are currently split by just half a second as they head themselves down into turn number 5. And we'll keep an eye on that battle. We've got a battle for 17th as well going on. Josh Baird has just managed to get himself past the driver of Andrew Aiken. And Aiken's really lost out coming through turn 1 that time, because the driver of Logan Simmons as well was also able to get himself up the inside. Get himself up another position. Up 7 positions is Logan away. He started after his pit lane start here today. A couple of penalties, I believe, for that driver, meaning that he had to sit out qualifying, take a penalty, and get his race underway in a bit of an unfortunate circumstance, but he is up and running. And now he's looking down to the inside as they head themselves under the Corvette bridge into turn number 6. That left-hander, around goes Josh Baird, and into the side of him will go Logan Simmons. Nothing Simmons could have done in that situation, really. He was trying to avoid. Josh Baird did the sensible thing, held his brakes, kept that car from spinning around just a little bit further, but unfortunately, when it came to a stop, it was in the middle of the racetrack. Andrew Aiken was able to get round, and he is back underway again. The driver of Steven Spantic has had another issue, this time down at turn number 5. Was there contact involved with his battle with Jonathan Diggs? There wasn't, but he's just once again struggling with the handling of that car. Not a great debut for the Torque Freak Racing driver, but he is going to be now out of this race, deciding that it's not going to be worth finishing. He's already down the order after a good qualifying starting in 9th. His day is going to be over after just 23 laps. Up at the front of the field, just to keep you updated on that, Matt Cook still leading by 3 seconds over Ronnie Nunez, and then 20 seconds back from him is now Lucas Laville. So Matt Cook and Ronnie Nunez have been dominating this race so far, absolutely walking away with it, but the gap between Lucas Laville and Josh Chin is slowly going to be coming down, getting even further and further towards each other as this race does progress. Approaching the halfway point now in this race. 24 laps are going to be completed as or 23 laps are going to be completed as the leaders cross the line this time. Ronnie Nunez is going to be now navigating his way around just a little bit of traffic. Hopefully now, ladies and gentlemen, we should have just a few. We should be back with you now, pictures and all. We are indeed back, so all our issues are sorted. A little bit of turbulent times, but we'll be able to bring you the remainder of this race. You can see, currently looking at Ronnie Nunez as he heads himself down into turn number 5. That gap stabilising himself and Matt Cook, actually running very similar lap times. But Lucas Laville and Josh Chin, the gaps come down by another half a second. That's the last time around the racetrack. The driver of Josh Chin was 1.3 seconds quicker, so taking time hand over fist out of the Frenchman. All of a sudden, Lucas Laville, the winner from Pocono this year, his first win that he's had in over 2 years in the Classic IndyCar Series. He could be looking at losing out on a podium if Josh Chin manages to catch up, and he cannot defend the position. Timo Sanyemi has just managed to get himself past the driver of Marshall Stanley for position number 11. Of course, Timo having to make an early pit stop on lap number 1 after picking up a penalty for a jump start. The issues for Jamie Wilson meant that he promoted himself up into 2nd position. He preempted the green flag at just the wrong point. He went, and the driver Ronnie Nunez didn't. He did try and lift off, but all chaos broke loose. A lot of drivers getting scrambled up, a lot of drivers getting thrown forward in the order that maybe wouldn't have done had that not happened. We take our eyes back onto 2nd position in the race as he comes up over the top of the hill to complete lap number 24 here at Road America. Under the bridge, still that gap between the 2 leaders, stabilising at 3 seconds. Around, keep my eye on Josh Chin, because very quickly he's reeling in that driver Lucas Laville. The gap between them now just 1.5 seconds. So we've got to focus on that number 2 machine as he heads himself under the bridge on the Moraine sweep down towards turn number 5. Downhill braking zone, tailwind here today as well, making it just that little bit more difficult for these drivers, because we do like a challenge here at the Classic IndyCar Series. Through turn 5 they will go. The gap between them now 1.3 seconds. You'll be able to see it behind Josh Chin. You can get them both in the same picture just about as they head themselves through turn number 6. And there you go, Josh Chin really is pushing. A little bit of a lift through the kink he will have. Down towards the hurry downs. Turns number 8 and 9 looking back from Lucas. And the gap is going to be within 1 second as they head themselves through the carousel. Brilliant view. You can see the purple and white Team Chimera machine of Joshua Chin slowly closing. get himself up onto the podium after starting 23rd and dead last on the grid after just 25 laps. Even the halfway point of this race now, he's going to be entering a battle to get a podium place. But instead, we've got a driver. The driver who was down in 9th, he's had an issue. An overtake was executed by the driver of Team Yemi. He lifted out of the throttle. A little bit of contact behind from the driver of Carsten Brodby. Replay up on your screen. You'll be able to see what happened just here. You can see Team Yemi. You can see actually Johnny Garrett just getting moved on Carsten Brodby. Team Yemi going for a very late move down the inside into turn number 5. And the slightest of touches from the number 35 machine of Carsten Brodby. And around the driver of Johnny Garrett will go. He's back underway, but a long way down in the field now in 15th position. Back towards, eyes forward to this battle for position number 3. Lucas Laville, Joshua Chin as they head themselves down the hill, down towards turn number 3. And it looks as though they're going to be pretty even, but this is where we're going to see this low downfall setup from Joshua Chin really play into its own, because he's going to be able to get into the draft, get out of that air. The tailwind is going to help push him on. It's probably, the draft isn't going to be as big coming down into this straight, but he is going to lift out and just allow Lucas Laville to hold the position for now. But Laville runs wide on the exit of turn number 5. It's going to cost him a 10th or so on their run up to the Corvette Bridge in turn number 6. They're going to be nose to tail as they hit the apex. Through the kink they will go. Josh Chin's got to be careful with the dirty air. We've already heard him. We've heard from Randy today that he was struggling with the dirty air yesterday while testing, and this slick setup is not going to help him as they head up towards the carousel. He's going to have the same problem fighting for that clean air. Try and get a bit more grip as they head through the corner and set up a move into Canada corner just past the kink. Exit of the carousel they will go through this lovely static camera that we had attached to the curb through the kink. And now Josh Chin can really get his foot down to 90, approaching 300 kilometers an hour. However, no move going to happen. He is going to back out of that one as they head into Canada corner. Again, Josh Chin is just going to be eyeing up. Live timing and scoring should be available over at race.tv/timing. Get yourself over there. You can track all your favourite drivers all race long to see how they are doing if they are not on your screens. Up over the hill, this battle for third will go. See just how steep that hill is, but as Josh Chin once again tucks in behind the Frenchman, I don't think he's going to get a move into turn number 1. He's going to be very brave. Again, lifting out of the throttle, deciding that it's not worth trying. Under the Briggs & Stratton sign, they will go. A little bit of traffic ahead could play into this battle quite nicely. That's going to be Jonathan Diggs, still running down in 20th position. Lucas Laville diving over to try and get a little bit of the draft. Jonathan should dive out of the way as per classic IndyCar rule book. If you get blue flags, you're going to let the faster car through. He does indeed do that. This is going to open the door for Josh Chin. Looking down the inside into turn number 5. Can he open the door? He can indeed. Lucas Laville pushed to the outside. Almost contact between the two on the exit of the corner. But Joshua Chin, a perfect move, using traffic to his advantage. Lucas Laville had nothing that he could answer. He's got himself onto the podium. It's going to be a tough ask to get himself up towards the front of the field, bearing in mind that the gap between himself and the current race leader of Matt Cook is 27 seconds, and with just 28 laps to go in the race, he's got to be consistently 1 second faster, something which I do not think is going to be possible. So for Josh Chin now, he's just got to settle into a rhythm and make sure that he can solidify himself into this position. This will be a good points haul for him towards his championship effort. The lap gaps up on your screen between Lucas Laville and Josh Chin, which is having a few issues with our timing and scoring. So we will get these sorted out for you in due course. Up over the top of the hill, Josh Chin will go. Out of 10th position, currently going out on the racetrack, as Matt Cook, after 13 laps, a really early pit stop for him, back out and away, 9.6 seconds. He is certainly on a 3-stopper, but that's very early for Matt. Earlier than last time, which is making me wonder whether he is running. I still don't understand why he's running such short stints. It seems very mystical to me. He's come out ahead of Robert Grosser. But I'm not sure whether the 3 stint is going to work for him. This does give the lead back to Ronnie Nunez. And we know that Ronnie Nunez can punch out some very quick times, but he is going to have traffic to contend with in this part of the race. He didn't have that towards the end of the first stint, and he is going to have that for the next 10 laps or so as he finishes off his second stint in this motor race. You can see it just ahead. In fact, that is the battle. That's Andrew Aitken running in 16th. He's just going to dive off to the left-hand side, let Ronnie through. Jamie Wilson is the next car that he will navigate himself around. Jamie only being a lap down after his unfortunate issues on the opening lap, or sorry, on the pace lap, was almost losing the rear end there. Was Ronnie Nunez in the 99, just a little bit too eager on the brakes, a little bit of losing grip on the old curb on the left-hand side of the entry to the final corner. Might have picked up just a little bit of gravel, but he saved it. A good save by the Talk Fruit Racing driver as he heads down into turn number 1. But again, Josh Chin is still on a charge. He's not giving up. Last time around, he was the fastest driver of anyone over the course of a lap. We'll see what his lap times translate to as he crosses the line this time. He goes even faster. So he's clearly not giving up. If he can catch either Ronnie Nunez or Matt Cook, and do not forget Matt Cook on this alternate strategy, could be hitting problems. The number 68 of Johnny Garrett, he's gone down the field even more. He's had a spin at turn number 14, and it does look as though that may be him out of the race. I'm not too sure. There was no contact with the wall, so he has got himself back up and going again. But no, but he is going to be once again down the order. Currently sitting in 20th position after running up and fighting for positions in the top 10. An unfortunate middle stint of this race for Johnny Garrett. The battle for position number 10 still going on out on track. That is going to be the driver of Carsten Brodby and Marshall Stanley in that battle. Carsten currently sitting in 10th with Marshall down in 11th. You can see it up on your screens now as they head past that pit exit, starting the 29th lap of the race. We are now past the halfway stage. A little bit of dust being kicked up on the inside by Brodby. That's going to give him a bad run off of turn number 1. Marshall Stanley not going to try and make a move as they head themselves into turn number 3. But again, Carsten Brodby getting a bad run out of turn number 3. He's got to pull to the right-hand side of the racetrack. Marshall Stanley looking down to the inside for turn number 5. He's going to just back into the slipstream. Can he get it done on the brakes? I don't think he's going to try. Just a little bit too far back to try and make a move work as they hit the apex for turn number 5. We'll see what happens as they head up into turn number 6. Yoni Kainen as well, looking like he wants to get involved in this. Kainen on a little bit of a comeback drive. He's made 2 stops already. He had a very early stop, which is a little bit mystical as to why that happened. Going to be usually a driver fighting for podiums, currently fighting for top 10 finishing positions today, so really struggling in that number 77 machine. He is a little bit off sequence with the pit stops, but he should be able to get to the end on just 1 more stop. Some drivers still got to make 2 stops to get to the end. One of those being Jan Hoffman, 14 laps into a stint. He's going to have to pit before that last pit window opens. We're still going to keep our eyes on this battle for 10th position at the moment. Marshall Stanley running a little bit wide at the apex of Canada corner. Not much he can really do about that one. It did sound like he was lifting out the throttle just a little bit, maybe hitting the rev limiter. Not got his gearing quite right for those high-speed sections set in a draft. I believe he's going to be on a high downforce setup as Marshall Stanley. I'm looking at his top speeds, but he's going to tuck in to the dirty air from Carsten Brodby, get himself a little bit of draft as he heads himself down this front stretch, looking to the inside into turn number 1, and maybe potentially eyeing up a move. But here comes Yoni Kainen behind in 12th position. He's going to try and open a door on the inside on Marshall Stanley. Not much he can do at the moment. Looking down to the inside for turn number 3, riding on board with the number 77 machine, and he's just going to open that door. Not much that Stanley can do there in the 25, and through will go Yoni Kainen. This has given the driver of Carsten Brodby just a little bit of respite here and let him get away just a little bit. Pull a little bit of a gap while these guys are fighting. Marshall Stanley really struggling on the revs there. I do have a feeling that he may be running a high downforce setup with very short gear ratios, to the point where it may be that he's struggling to get any sort of top speed out of that car, which could play pivotal in this race. And that would be interesting if some of these drivers are being inhibited by top speed, as Marshall Stanley is. Especially sat in the draft, it's going to limit their overtaking opportunities as they all head themselves through the carousel once again. And now Yoni Kainen, he's managed to catch up to the driver of Carsten Brodby. Could he get 2 positions in 1 lap? It may be the case as they head themselves into Canada corner once again. Still line astern, but he's closing with every single corner. Not sure there's going to be much that Carson Provic can really do to defend this one. And as Carson makes a mistake on the outside, Joni will get a good run off the corner, duck in behind in the slipstream as they run up the hill and just get himself a good run into turn number 1. This is what he wants to do, find the opportunity to stick the nose out. He's going to do it as they cross the line. Side by side, they will go towards the exit of pit lane as Jan Hoffman has decided that he wants to come down onto pit lane. Joni Kainen down to the inside, and he is going to be up into the top 10 once again. Currently sitting in 9th position, however, of course, the pit stops currently going on are going to be shaking that up. Jan Hoffman, another driver on a 3-stopper. He's going to have another stop to do before the end of this race. Just trying to see if I can see anyone else who may be in that situation here today. Other than that, everyone is going to be pushing for a 2-stopper. It's going to be close, don't get me wrong, but it's still going to be possible. Current race leader still going to be the driver of Ronnie Nunez as he heads himself through turn number 1. Still setting fast lap times. Josh Chin's got nothing that he can answer. However, he is catching 20... Oh, no, that's not Josh Chin. That's his teammate. That's Jamie Wilson off ahead of him. So Jamie Wilson having a bit of an issue coming out of turn number 3. Looks as though he just had a little bit of loss of grip. Replay up on your screens now. We can see what happened to the number 87 machine. Through turn number 1. Down the hill, which is counted as turn number 2. And it's turn number 3 who will head. And that, yeah, just a little bit of oversteer on the rear. Spat the car around. A good save, though, by Jamie. It's still running down in 21st position. He definitely would have wanted a slightly better day here today. Still looking at Ronnie Nunez up in the race lead. 22-second advantage now over the driver of Josh Chin. So he is catching. I don't think he's catching fast enough because the last time around it had 2.5 tenths that he took out of the driver of Ronnie Nunez. The driver of Lucas Laville, however, is dropping back from Mr. Chin as time progresses. Last time around by a full second that time. So clearly not the Frenchman not quite got the pace to keep up with that Team Chimera machine. And we do have a battle for 5th position going on. Robert Grosser and Sasha Lamp currently heading themselves through the carousel. Robert Grosser in 5th, the 3-time champion here in the Classic IndyCar Series. Sasha Lamp currently sitting in 6th, making his return just a couple of weeks ago to the series and getting off to a good start again before hitting trouble. And again here today showing that he really does have good potential in these Indy cars. Of course, these Indy cars, the Dallara IR05s, the slightly modified ones that were modified in the late 2000s to run on the road courses. Because the original chassis design for these cars, of course, only designed for oval. And then the merge between the IndyCar Racing League and Champ Car to create what is now known as IndyCar with the road and oval mixed calendar. Meaning that a slight reconfiguration of the car was needed, especially for the road courses. This is what they came up with. Of course, since 2 more chassis iterations, the DW12, of course, named after the late great Dan Weldon. Then the IR18 Bringport in last year, a very futuristic, sleek-looking car, and much more futuristic than the one that we see here today. Is a little bit loose on the exit. Turn number 3 was the number 42 of Sasha Lamb. A little bit of rear grip being lost. These guys both 14 laps into a stint. The tyres, we know they last a long time here. However, with the hot track temperature, the grip is going to be slightly down. 45 degrees Celsius out on the track, 27 degrees Celsius in the air as we head into the mid-afternoon. The wind has started to dive just a little bit. It's only 16 kilometers an hour, so a little bit less wind out on the track. However, still that headwind into turn number 1 and the tailwind as they head themselves down into turn number 5 and along that back stretch, including the kink, which is really going to be playing havoc with the downforce on these cars. This battle for 5th position currently between these drivers as they head themselves through the carousel. Slowly closing down is the driver of Sasha Lamp. Up to the kink they will head. You can see, of course, the DRS boards there for the iRacing Grand Prix World Championship Series, of course, no longer in existence. IndyCar not using the drag reduction system. Of course, those F1 cars still utilised here on iRacing. The World Championship being turned into what is now the Porsche Resport Super Cup is a little bit wide through the final corner. Sasha Lamp will go. He's going to lose him just a little bit of time. Dropping 4 tenths this this lap. He did catch you a little bit on the last time around the racetrack. At the moment, these two setting pretty similar lap times. Split by about 0.5 of a second that time around. Into turn number 1. Sasha clearly pushing that car. He's just managed to catch 3/10 on the driver of Robert Grosser. He had a bad run through that first corner as Jonathan Diggs down onto the pit lane once again for his second stop. He's going to also be on the 3-stop strategy here today. And some of these drivers who are on the 2-stop are going to be pushing it to make it. A little bit of fuel saving might be needed. Down into turn number 5 they will go. Robert Grosser is going to go defensive on the inside line. I think he's just going to be able to hold on to it. Can Sasha Lamb get the undercut? But I'm not. Yep, I don't think he's going to be able to do it. Isn't. And he's just going to drop back to 4/10 behind. He had a really good run, but a little bit more top speed would have been needed for that 42 machine to be able to make a move, especially running outside into turn number 5. A very tricky move to pull off. So they have themselves up into the carousel once again. Sasha Lamb still looking. He has dropped back over the course of this lap. Robert Grosser clearly just maybe Sasha having to just reconfigure himself, ready for another move. Slightly different line as they head themselves up to carry the corner from the 2. 0.5 second splitting them. And Sasha really starting to close in the gap again as they head towards the end of the 34th lap. Not too long time, we're going to be getting towards the last 20 laps of this motor race. And around the final corner they will go. Up the hill, Robert Grosser's going to go defensive because he can see a move coming into the draft. Sasha Lamb will tuck himself to the outside of the track. There will go. Robert clearly setting himself up for turn number 1, but the overspeed from Sasha Lamb is too great. On the brakes, he will do it. Slightly wide is Grosser going to have to go, and nothing that he can do to stop that Talk Creek Racing machine getting himself through on the driver of Robert Grosser. Through he has gone into 5th position, so if he can hold on to this, I believe it may be the first top 5 position for Sasha Lamb in the Classic Indycar Series. He did compete last year, well, I think for a partial season last year, and then also again this year. But of course, Talk Creek Racing, a very accomplished team when it comes to any form of motorsport here on iRacing. We know that they have potential, we know that they have very good drivers. Vesiula Olia down onto pit lane after 17 laps on his second stint. Once again, this is going to be another driver on the 3-stop strategy here today. I think it's going to be close for the driver, Ronnie Nunez. He's going to come across the line. 20 laps to go this time around. Still setting quick lap times, but he's going to have to do another 2 laps to be able to be comfortably in the pit window for pitting for the last time on this round of stops. We know that, and of course based on that first stint, he's going to be in this time around because this is going to be his 18th circumnavigation of the circuit, and that will mean that he is either going to have to fuel save like mad to pull a 19th lap stint out of the bag, or he is going to have to make a splash and dash to get to the end of the race. So this could be where it starts to fall, maybe potentially back into Matt Cook's hands. The gap between the two as well, 38 seconds. So in fact, unless Ronnie Nunez has a really fast stop, he is not going to hold on to this race lead. He needs to have about a 7-second stop to hold on to this race lead. I don't think it's going to be possible. But Matt does have to stop again in this race. It's going to be that question mark over whether Ronnie Nunez will have to. Of course, obviously the pace lap as well. Going to be draining just a little bit of fuel out of the cars, so that may be the difference between doing an 18 and a 19 lap stint on that opening stint. You do not know. Josh Chin, of course, still on his 16th lap of his stint. We know that he went longer in that first run, so he is comfortable on the 2-stop, but Ronnie Nunez still that question mark as to whether he's going to be able to do it or not. We'll find out whether he's going to come down onto pit lane this time. He is indeed. So with 19 laps to go in the race, Ronnie Nunez is going to pit after an 18-lap stint. He's going to have to fuel save to get to the end on this stint, on this tank of fuel, without a splash and dash. And I think it is going to be a tall order. but it's definitely one that is possible. Hans Pitkanen is going to be exiting the pit lane, just ahead. See him coming across your screens right now, ladies and gentlemen, in that number 8 machine. Hans, we haven't really seen much of him today. We're currently running down in 12th position, having a bit of an average day. Still in the lead lap, mind you, but not a brilliant lap. Ronnie is down onto pit lane. Josh has gone through to inherit the race lead, with my time screen telling me that we have 18.8 laps to go in this motor race. So Josh Chin is going to be comfortable for him, currently on his 17th lap of the stint. So Ronnie has gone for a quick stop. That stop was 10.7 seconds, 42 seconds on pit stop, so it was longer than Matt, but they have come out nose to tail here at Road America, and it's going to be a battle. This is technically the battle for first position in the motor race. Ronnie clearly has caught back up and caught some advantages. Matt Cook loose down to the inside as they head into turn number 5. Ronnie, no competition, and he's just going to let Matt through. Looked as though maybe Matt was going to outbrake himself just a little bit into the corner, but that wasn't the case, and they're going to run line and stern as they head themselves under the Corvette bridge. Sasha Lamp down onto pit lane. He's completed his second stop, going out in 9th position, just behind the driver of Joni Kainen, who is going to be stopping for a 3rd time in just the next few laps. Keep an eye out, Lucas Seville, we expect to see down onto pit lane. He's going to be safe from here now. He's on the 19th lap of his stint. He has been fuel saving, so he can get to the end on one more. So can Josh Chin. So can the drivers of Robert Gross and Jos van der Ven, Team Yami, Joni Kainen, Carson Brodby. They are all safe to get to the end here on one more. Joni Kainen, of course, going for that 3-stop. Timo Yami having that unlucky penalty at the start of the race that pushed him down the order. Marshall Stanley as well now is going to be down onto pit lane. Josh Chin has stayed out to do one more, so he's going for a 19-lap stint. Lucas Laville is down onto pit lane, so about 19 laps is the most that we're seeing out of these drivers. A little bit of traffic for him as he enters pit lane in the form of Andrew Aitken in the number 27, but he is just going to navigate his way around. Currently looking at the driver of Josh Chin, that purple and white Team Camara car. Do not get it confused with his teammate Jamie Wilson. Jamie is in sort of that light green, bluey coloured car, and the white as well for Team Camara. So same paint scheme, just different colours. Going to be depicting the two cars, the two teammates. Expect to see Josh in at the end of this lap. Supposedly Lucas Laville is going to be down. Robert Gross and Jos van der Ven also pitting this time around, both completing their 19-lap stint. Timo Yami down onto pit lane to make his 3rd stop of the motor race. Get himself sorted out for this final stint. Robert Grosser down off the jacks. He's going to be away in a pit stop time 13. This is a really long stop for Robert, 13.4 seconds. Could lose him just a little bit of advantage over Sasha Lamp, but it does indeed, because Lamp goes through and he's going to blast off into the distance. 1.5 seconds almost the gap between himself and Robert Grosser. As these pit stops continue to happen, let's keep an eye on Josh Chin, see if he comes down onto pit lane. As he heads himself down through turn number 13. On towards turn number 14 now. Does he stay right or does he stay out to go for a 20th lap? He is going to pit. So Josh Chin is going to be making his final stop of the race now. He's definitely going to lose out positions to Matt Cook and Ronnie Nunez. He should be able to hold on to his position because of the gap that he pulled out. But a long stop is going to await Mr. Chin. He heads himself down onto the pit stall. First pit stall that he is going to find is going to be his. Up onto the jacks he will go. 4 tyres, 4 tank of fuel. Matt Cook goes through. Ronnie Nunez goes through. We've got a car stop. That's Lucas Laville. Lucas Laville at the kink. He's got no front wing. He's got heavy damage. And he looks as though he's had an accident through the kink. Run very wide, got on the bump. He looked as though he's actually holding it. But all of a sudden just lost that rear end and it spat him into the wall. All of a sudden the Frenchman out of this race. This is going to really hurt his championship. Josh Chin, by the way, out and away in a 10-second stop. So he is out back onto the track. We'll run on with Lucas Laville. He's going to turn right into the king. Just hit that on the inside. A little bit of a bump. And around he goes. A hard hit into the wall. There is no comeback for the Frenchman. He almost put it on its roll hoop as well. But luckily not going to be a problem. Josh Chin once again going for a spin. Not the first time this has happened in this series, and I did say at the top of the show, he cannot make any mistakes. This could cost him. Lucas Laville just putting it into the wall is going to help him just a little bit. We're going to ride on board with Josh. This is some cold tyres coming out of the pits. Through turns number 1, he will go. Running it wide, down the hill he will go. Into turn number 3, and you can just see, got on the power, he was on the curb, the rear end just went. Very lucky. He was very lucky he did loop it in the end. Looked as though he was going to hold it. Car still looking very twitchy though as he headed himself through the King down towards the Hurry Downs. Still not going to be comfortable with that. Atcook has regained this race lead. But Ronnie Nunez once again sitting in second, just 3 seconds behind. So the gap that was there after the first pit stop is there again after the second pit stop. Across the line, they will go to start lap number 40. We have 16 laps remaining in this race. Still a lot that could happen. As we've just seen, it's not over until the fat lady sings. And we're going to ride on board with Mr. Spin himself, Joshua Chin in the number 93, currently sitting in 3rd position in the motor race for some RaceSpot TV fan immersion. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Classic IndyCar Series and the Edifice Incorporated 220 here at Road America. Edifice Incorporated construction is as much about art as science. It's all about having a strong vision and the creation of enduring qualities. It's about creative problem solving and the willingness to deliver above and beyond the expected. It's about passionate teams, long-standing partnerships built on trust, performance and lasting value. For more information, head yourself over to edificeinc.com. You can find out all about them. And of course, the Logykal Classic IndyCar Series would not be possible without Logykal Innovative Engineering. They do make brilliant products for all of your sim racing needs that you can use to your heart's content. And of course, throughout the year, we have had many sponsors join us over the course of this series. Eccentric Solutions, of course, bringing us the Oval Triple Crown, and of course Edifice Incorporated, their second race that they brought us so far this year here at Road America. Welcome back to the iRacing Esports Network. Jack Stiles, Randy Chenworth on the cameras for you today. We're now heading into the last 12 laps of the motor race. Something has happened to Matt Cook. He's pitted. That's what's happened to Matt Cook. So Matt Cook has made his final pit stop of the race. He's come out behind, 9 seconds behind Josh Chin. And we know that Josh Chin is safe on fuel, but we don't know that Ronnie Nunez is, because he pitted 19 laps before the end of this race. So it's going to be close to see whether Ronnie Nunez has to pit again. And if he does, he is going to have problems, as Matt Cook just getting a little bit loose as he came through the final corner that time. See the colder tyres, new tyres and a full tank of fuel in that car. Currently looking at Josh Chin sitting in second position. He's 25 seconds behind the driver Ronnie Nunez. Now if Ronnie Nunez has to make a splash and dash, it's going to be 30 seconds minimum. Now we know that Matt Cook is good to the end, and we know that Josh is good to the end. So this could be, I mean, it would be a fairy tale story if Josh could come away with a win here. Of course, he's got to keep it pointing in the right direction, something which he has been struggling with all season long. As you can see, the lap gaps and the time gaps between the two. Last time around, 9/10 is what Josh Chin was able to hunt down on Ronnie Nunez. So still got the pace and still going all out on that number 93 machine. As Jan Hoffman down as the pit lane to make his final stop of the race. Fastest lap of the race so far, it's still going to Josh Chin. 1 minute 44.772. See Ronnie head himself in Canada corner. Josh currently running himself through the carousel. Up towards the final corner, Ronnie will go. Still going to lead at 25 seconds. We'll have to give it another lap to see. We'll wait and see if Matt Cook is able to gain any time on Josh Chin, or what the lap times are going to be like. Of course, Josh Chin running a slightly lighter car, purely down to the fact that he's got probably 5-6 laps less fuel in the car. Ronnie Nunez having the same issue, having the same thing. He's got an even lighter car than Josh. 2 laps of fuel further into a stint. 8 laps in is Ronnie, 6 is Josh. So Josh comes along across the line this time. He's going to take 0.8 of a second out of the driver Ronnie Nunez that time around. And Matt Cook, I think, is going to be losing time to Josh. He is at 1 minute 46.2 compared to Josh's 1 minute 45.2. So he has lost a whole second over the driver of Josh Chin. And that can mean one thing and one thing only, and that is that Chin has got his head down and really running for it. Someone is sitting there going, you've got a chance here, Josh, of getting a race win from starting last on the grid. It would be a fairy tale win if that would be the case. He's clearly pushing because he's just got the car loose just a little bit, coming through turn at number 5. As we're looking at the 05 machine of Jan Hoffman, currently down in 9th position. Sort of running on his own at the moment. Actually, he's currently down in 12th position, just made his pit stop. Looking at Yoni Kayanen now, up in 8th. 10 seconds behind Timo Sinyemi, ahead in 7th. And just sort of minding his own business at this stage of the race. Much more that he can do as we head into the latter stages now here at Road America. Through turns number 3, he will head down onto the back straight. Not much traffic around him either. We have had a few retirements, of course, 3 non-starters in the former Tristan Hauser, Zachary Sfahar and Andre Dolino. Steven Spantig deciding Yep. Steven Spantic, 23 laps ago, deciding that he wanted to not continue in this race. Lucas Ville with that heavy incident just a few laps ago. Logan Simmons we lost as we were on fan immersion, so currently only 3 non-finishers. Quite a few cars a couple of laps down, but the top 11 still on the lead lap. And actually, the battle for 10th position is still close, 1.4 seconds between the two. Marshall Stanley and Carsten Brodby. Okay, they're pretty similar on times. You can see Rodney Nunes between the two, your current race leader, as we head into the final 10 laps of the motor race. But it's still pretty close between these two guys, 1.5 seconds between them as it stands. So Marshall Stanley's got past, but he clearly can't pull away. He's just had to let Ronnie Nunes through. This is actually going to allow Carsten Brodby just to catch up just a little bit. 8 tenths now between the two. The gap has just been halved because of that little bit of traffic. So head themselves through the King, right on board with Carsten Brodby, nice and smooth on the steering application through there. You don't want to be aggressive with the car because it will bite back and it will spin you out into one of these walls. Down into Canada corner they will come, just 6 tenths of a second between the two. However, I do think that the driver of Marshall Stanley just has a little bit more pace, is able to keep this car in that 10th position. Of course, this battle for the last position in the top 10. As they head out of the final corner, up the hill towards the start-finish line to come across lap number 46. 9 laps to go in this event. So now these drivers are going to be starting to think about what they're going to do. The checkered flag isn't far away. Are they okay for fuel? The tyres are going to be okay. Just a quick update on the weather. The air temperature hasn't really changed, still around 27 degrees Celsius. The track temperature has come down, it's now back to 44. Not really changed too much over the course of this race. Ronnie Nunes gets himself down towards turn number 5. It's going to be a long waiting game for him. He needs to be fuel saving right now. He has the time gap to do it over Josh Chin. So fuel saving is going to be what Ronnie Nunes can do. If he can do it, it's going to be a fairy tale for him as well. First ever race here in the Classic IndyCar Series, and he is going to walk. He could potentially, in 8 laps' time, walk away on victory lane. It's going to be about 15 minutes until we find out as to whether he will do so. Through the carousel, he will come under the bridge towards the kink. See just how much time he's already pulled out on Marshall Stanley. So still, okay, he might be fuel saving, but he's still pushing that car. He clearly is fuel saving because the driver of Matt Cook last time around did a 1 minute 45.3. Ronnie did a 1 minute 46.6. Okay, he did have a little bit of traffic that would have helped him just that little bit, but still, he's got to be careful. Watch those fuel numbers. Someone is going to be sitting there telling him, just keep yourself calm, keep yourself collected. Still a long way to go in this race. 8 laps as he comes across the line this time. While all this is going on, it's a good chance to run you through how your top 8 currently looks in the race so far, with 8 laps to go as we head towards the closing stations of this one. Ronnie Nunes currently up at the front of the field, and Josh Chin sat in 2nd position, 25 seconds back, but just 9 seconds back now from Josh. It's going to be that driver of Matt Cook. He's on a charge now. He's made his final stop. He's pushing because he just made a mistake, and he is having a few issues with that car. A little bit of slidey from him. Robert Grosser sitting in 4th. Sasha Lamp still in 5th. Something not quite right with that car, and Matt Cook will keep an eye on that. Jos van der Ven having a brilliant race. He started in 8th, had a really strong qualifying for him. Now currently running in 6th. Timo Siniemi in 7th. Yoni Kainen going to be running out the top 8 for now in that number 77 machine, after his alternate strategy that seems to have almost worked out. He's got a good finishing position, but not quite yet there just yet. Ronnie Nunes, as we look at Matt Cook, he has been pushing. He was 1.7 seconds slower than Josh Chin last time around, so he is losing time. 10 seconds between the two of them now. So he heads himself through turn number 5 on the exit and up towards the Corvette bridge. This is now going to be an interesting predicament as to whether we see Matt Cook maybe have to just take his foot off the gas just a little bit, stop pushing so much, because he's starting to risk the car. He had an issue at the last corner last time around, and again that time maybe getting a little bit of a slide on as he headed himself into turn number 8 at the exit on the bottom of the hurry downs. Through the carousel he will come up towards the kink. This is going to be crunch time. This is going to be where he's been having issues over the last couple of laps with that grip of the car. Clearly running a slightly higher downforce setup. Vesigulo Ollier down onto pit lane for his third stop of the motor race with just 7 laps to go. And Finn, the number 96 machine, dropping down to 12th. He's going to lose even more positions as Hans Pitkanen makes his way through. Scholt should hold on to 13th now and re-emerge in that position as we put our eyes back towards our leader. 7 laps to go in this race. Now to start thinking about whether he can make it to the end. If he's been fuel saving, if he's been sensible with his fuel, we'll be okay. If not, he's going to have to start thinking about, I need to make a splash and dash. And that could potentially put him behind Josh Chin. I reckon it definitely will do. That gap 25 seconds. But we won't find out for probably another 5 laps as to whether Ronnie Nunez can make it to the end or not. He did take a full tank of fuel last time around. 10.7 second stop he had. Stop and go is going to cost him around 30 seconds here today. That's not how you want to make a 3-stop strategy work. Of course, obviously, when this series ran here in 2015, 2016, the 2-stop strategy was the preferred way of doing things, with Dan Benefield winning both races when we came here last time. But of course, obviously, Dan, commitments elsewhere now within iRacing, not being able to race in the Classic Indycar Series today. Lion Ronnie Nunez will come to start lap number 50 here at Road Americas. Just 6 to go. Again, still setting competitive lap times, but clearly fuel saving. Josh Chin isn't, however. He's setting the fastest laps of anyone each time around at the moment. 145 flat as he came across the line last time around. Compare that to Ronnie Nunez this time. Ronnie Nunez did a 1 minute 46. He took a second out last time around. Let's see what he's going to do this time. Again, it's another second out of Ronnie Nunez. He's not going to catch him on pace. If he's going to do it, it's going to be because Ronnie Nunez has to make that 3rd pit stop. But of course, also for Ronnie, cannot make a mistake. It's imperative that he just keeps it clean, keeps it on the back stuff. You can see he's pushing, kicking up some grass on the exit of turn number 7. Through turn number 8 and the hurry down as he goes. Again, just kicking up some dust, kicking up some dirt. Using every extremity to the track he possibly can. Just to try and find every single 10th out of that number 99 machine. Through the kinky heads, that's those DRS boards. No DRS in the Classic IndyCar Series or on these IndyCars at all. Through Canada corner. Stays out still. We wouldn't expect to see him down onto the pit lane just yet with 5 to go as he crosses the line. However, his lap times are telling me that he is saving fuel, 45.4 that time around, so much faster lap, using that momentum to his advantage just to try and keep himself in the running for this. We've got a car stop. This is the number 4, Randy Shoemake. Randy Shoemake's on his roll hoop. That's the first one we've seen an accident like that today. That's with that's going to be involving contact. Replay up on your screen. See Andrew Aiken in the 27, navigating himself through the inside, but watch behind Josh Baird. I think Josh may just miss his braking point, a very small touch, and that is what sends Randy Shoemake flying. His race is going to be over today. He's back on pit lane with a lack of wings, which is kind of important in these IndyCars. So for Randy Shoemake, very close to the end, we can re-see the incident here, riding on board with Josh Baird. Sorry, it may have been just a little bit of a moment of missed braking point. It also could have been a bit of hardware failure, as we've got a spinner ahead of him. It was one of the Logykal Vortex sim racing cars. I'm not quite sure which one it was. It was the 43 of Timo Sinyemi. Mike Gulliker may have also involved in this one. He was, as he came around the corner. Timo Sinyemi parked in the middle of the track. He tried to go for an avoiding action, I think, but Gulliker now without a front wing. Isinyemi's going to have picked up a little bit of damage from that. He's now in a battle with the driver Joni Kainen, and Kainen's going to be looking to the inside as they head themselves up over the hill And it's just going to be no competition from Timo Sinyemi. There's nothing that he can give on that 43 machine. And all of a sudden, he's looking at himself having issues with aero in the closing stages of this motor race. Ronnie Nunez as we look up over the hill, once again staying out as he goes across the line. 4 laps to go for him at the stripe. And that means one thing and one thing only. It's going to be about 3 laps until we find out whether he has to pit again or not. Down the hill he will go. A little bit of lap traffic ahead. There's going to be the 68 of Johnny Garrett. Garrett not having a great race today. He's back up to 17th. 1 lap down on your leader. About to go 2 laps down on your leader. But he was called up in incidents at around the midway stage. Just having a few problems. Not being able to keep that thing. Well, having a few incidents as well with drivers. But also just a few problems with keeping it on the black stuff. Almost spinning into a wall. Up over under the Corv bridge. Ronnie Nunez will go. Really catching up to Johnny Garrett now. Into one of the fastest sections of the course. He's going to navigate his way himself through some lap traffic. Does it successfully. Through the carousel he will go. Ronnie Nunez is going to have to start looking at his fuel numbers, working out whether he has to make this stop or not, or he wants to do it or it's too late, because very quickly the driver of Matt Cook is starting to close in on him as well. But Matt has really lost some time to the driver of Josh Chin over the last few laps. The gap between the two now 14.5 seconds. Some really bad laps from Matt Cook, struggling in the latter parts of this race. And really showing that that 3 stop may have hurt him just that little bit. Ronnie Nunez stays out once again. 3 laps to go now for the Talk Treat Racing driver. Still keeping an eye on that pit lane as to whether he is going to come down or whether I see anyone else decide that it's their turn to dive on to the pit lane. One staying out so far. The only driver who looks to be close on fuel is going to be that driver of Ronnie Nunez. Harms Pitkanen as well could be one who may have to make a splash and dash. They've both just completed 16 laps since their last pit stop, which means they've both got to go 19 laps on this stint for Hans Pitkanen. Could be a little bit of a tough ask. Same with Ronnie Nunez. But we know that he's saving fuel. The gap between himself and Josh Chin still coming down. Chin still setting blisteringly fast lap times just to try and pull away from Matt Cook. If he can get ahead of Matt Cook and finish second, it's going to be vital points for him in the championship. If he can win this race, it's going to be even more points. And for Josh Chin, keep those championship hopes alive. And of course, drop weeks still to play into this one. Josh has used his 3 drop weeks by the looks of things. Matt hasn't used any yet. Matt's had a flawless season so far, been so consistent, scoring a good amount of points week in, week out. Josh has had a few issues, still managed to get himself back up to the front when he has, but it's those issues which have harmed his championship and really not helped him at all. Ronnie Nunez out of the final corner, staying out on the track for one more. He's going to have 2 more laps around the circuit before he sees that checkered flag. Just another 2.5 minutes to go. So 3.5 minutes to go for that driver. Really pushing the track limits on the exit of turn number 1. Got to be careful not to pick up those track limit abuse penalties that you can get here. So easy to get at Road America. Down the straight he will head. It's Josh Chin. Crosses the line. Fastest lap of the road race, 1 minute 44.755. So as the fuel burns off in the number 93, it's blisteringly fast all of a sudden. The lead gap now down to 22.5 seconds, and the gap back to Matt Cook from Josh is now 17 seconds. Matt cannot answer to this. It's almost going 2 seconds slower over the course of that last time around the racetrack. So Matt all of a sudden really struggling. Ever since that 3rd stop, doesn't seem to have the pace in the car. But Ronnie Nunez, he's going to be seeing the white flag as he comes across the line this time. Through the carousel he will come. Through the kink. what a fairy tale this be. Just one more time around the racetrack, he's going to keep himself out of the pit lane, but also not run out of fuel on this last lap. Through the last corner he will come. This is judgment point. Does he dive for the pit lane? He doesn't, so Ronnie Nunez confident that he can make a 19 lap stint. He's been saving fuel all the way through. It's that last pit stop. Across the line he will go. White flag this time around. One more lap to go here at Road America. All of a sudden, Josh Chin, his hopes of winning a very, very dreamful race have gone out the window. There's no way that he can catch up 22.5 seconds in one lap unless something catastrophic happens to Ronnie Nunez. But Ronnie, what a day he has had. His debut in the Classic IndyCar Series. He qualified pole by over half a second over Jamie Wilson, and had Jamie Wilson not had those problems, we would have definitely seen him up at the front of the track, up at the front of the race, fighting for that lead, really going at it with Matt Cook and Ronnie Nunez. Unfortunate for him that he got pushed down to the back of the pack very early on in this race, but for the driver of Ronnie Nunez, half a lap separates him and his first trip to victory lane in the Classic IndyCar Series, as he runs very wide, coming out of the kink from turn number 7 down towards the Hurry Downs, deals with the traffic very calmly. Almost losing the rear end, the number 31 has stopped, that's Mike Gerlicke. He's hit trouble, spun at turn number 2 on this final lap, but we will keep our eyes on your race leader. Through the kink one final time. The heart rate will now drop by 5 beats a minute because he knows he doesn't have to navigate that really fast right-hander anymore. Risk the car every time you go through it, that you might just get that little bit of a flick. We've only seen one car have an incident in that corner today, and that was Lucas Laville. It was surprising, really. Usually see a few more than that. But it's the final few corners for Ronnie Nunez. Navigates himself through turn 13 and 13A, up to turn 14, hits the apex on the exit, and it's now going to be a straight run to the finish for the number 99 machine. For Torque Freak Racing, Ronnie Nunez on his debut in the Classic IndyCar Series wins at Road America in the Edifice Incorporated 220 by 22.5 seconds. It will be over the driver of Josh Chin. Once again, the 2-stop prevailing over the 3-stop as Josh Chin through the final corner. He will come from 23rd on the grid, up 21 positions. The biggest mover and shaker here today at Road America. He is going to cross the line, come home second, and that second step on the podium. A brilliant day for Josh, and had he not had that spin, maybe, just maybe, he could have challenged for the lead. Matt Cook, he's tried that 3-stop. It didn't quite work for him. Third place it is going to be as he comes across the line. Going to keep the championship lead, but not the day he would have wanted. But from 6th on the grid after struggling in qualifying. Had the quick pace early on in the race, just couldn't quite keep it up towards the end. For Matt Cook, he's going to see that checkered flag as everyone else now going to work their way up towards. Robert Grosser is going to hold off Sasha Lamp in that battle for 4th position by about 5 seconds to cross the line in 4th position. Sasha Lamp, a brilliant run for him. Torque Freak Racing finishing 1st and 5th today on a big mass entry. Bit of weaving as he comes up the hill for Sasha Lamp, and across the line will come the last few stragglers will be making their way up. But also one driver who does deserve a mention, Jos van der Ven, someone who you usually see battling in the mid-pack. He's going to be coming across the line today in 6th position. A brilliant job by Jos. Good points haul as well for his championship. That's going to see him move himself up a few positions and get himself solidified in that position. As the last few cars are going to come across the line, we're going to give you your race results here at Road America. Ronnie Nunez by 22.5 seconds is going to take his first ever race win. His first ever race here at the Classic IndyCar Series. Josh Chin going to come home in 2nd. Matt Cook not quite making that 3-stop strategy work, coming home in 3rd. Robert Grosser in 4th, Sasha Lamp 5th, Jos van der Ven 6th, Joni Kinen 7th, Timo Signelli 8th, Marshall Stanley 9th, and Carsten Brodby going to round out the top 10. 11th is going to be Jan Hoffman with 12th. Hans Picken and Vessi Ula-Olli are going to finish down in 13th. Andrew Aiken 14th. Josh Baird in 15th. Oh, he hasn't actually crossed the line yet because he's run out of fuel on the last lap, which has had to take a tow back into the pit lane. Johnny Gregg going to finish in 16th. Jamie Wilson finding his way back from 17th after his technical issues on the opening lap of the race. Frank Tuchel 18th. Jonathan Dix 19th. And Mike Gerlicke is going to be 20th. Your non-finishes then, Randy Shoemake, Logan Simmons, Lucas Lamille and Stephen Spanting, and then non-starters being Andre Delino, Tristan Hauser and Zachary Svaha. We're going to step aside for just a few moments here on Racespot TV and on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll be back for post-race coverage here at Elkhart Lake.
This is Jim Beaver, voice of the Lucas Oil Off-Road Racing Series, introducing Pro 2 and Pro 4 trucks on iRacing. Game on!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Elkhart Lake, to Road America for the Edifice Incorporated 220, the latest installment of the 2019 Logykal Innovative Engineering Classic IndyCar Series. And what a race it was. Ronnie Nunez dominating from the start, pulling off another two-stop race. He hasn't quite joined us for an interview, however, Josh Chin has, and we can catch up for him now. Josh, first of all, congratulations. Second place finish from 23rd on the grid. Unlucky penalty for you, meaning that you had to start right at the back, but you worked your way through, and you did say to us just a little bit before we came back on air, you're involved in a little bit of contact. We didn't quite catch that on the broadcast. Just take us through what it was like getting your way through the traffic in the opening laps.
Oh, it was difficult. I knew starting from the back was going to be an entertaining time, so I decided to go Jamie and myself both on lower downforce, and it helped with fuel saving as well. But it made it real tricky in some of the braking zones, especially getting runs on people, and then basically having to stop another 5-10 meters before they were. Um, Getting through traffic wasn't too bad. There were a few incidents. I had one with the end that cost me 5 seconds, and I'm not entirely sure what happened there. We just got together, and it almost seemed like we never actually hit it first, and it turned him anyways. But I mean, I only lost I think 20 seconds getting through all the traffic and getting up into the like seventh, eighth spot. So I mean, at that point, it looked pretty doable. At least I knew I was within Matt's pit delta, so that was the biggest thing I wanted to do was jump him in the pit cycle.
And obviously also today we've seen that difference in strategy with the high downforce setup and the low downforce setup. Could you see that drivers were running a high downforce setup when you approached them on the straights? Because I know that you guys were running a slightly lower downforce, the slicker setup.
Yeah, we had a 3-4 kilometer overspeed on everyone without draft. So as soon as I got in draft, I was doing 297 going down into Canada Corner. Everyone else was doing 290 at most in draft. So it was noticeable, but it definitely had some corners, especially the carousel was difficult trying to pace it through there behind people. And even in the kink, we had to do a little bit of push, an aero push lift, which I never had in this car before. So that was a new experience.
Obviously, yeah, as you say, Road America, a very difficult circuit, especially when you start getting that aero draft pushing you out wide on these faster corners. Of course, looking forward the rest of the season. Good points haul for you because you managed to get in front of Matt today. Getting a few more points back in the championship. Still not quite over for you because the drop weeks will be taken into account, but I know that you can't afford to have any more drop weeks because I think you have used your 3 up now.
Yeah, the rest of the season, I just have to get as many points as I can and hope that something happens to Matt. And I don't expect it to happen to Matt, so I'm going to have to go out and do it myself. Having Mid-Ohio and Laguna coming up, those are good tracks for me, especially in this car. I love Mid-Ohio. So that'll be, something where I can make up some points. But it's going to take a lot. Something's going to have to happen at Homestead and Indy to really make up ground, and I don't expect that to happen.
And you never know. It's not all over till the Fat Lady sings, and of course double points when we head to Indianapolis at the start of November for the series finale. But before we go and let you celebrate your podium with your team, Josh, who would you like to give a shout out to today?
I got to give a huge shout out to Jamie. He was turning a lot of test laps this week. We started early, and it really paid off. He was giving good feedback, and I think it helped us go down a direction not a lot of people were going down. And, we had a lot of speed. I think Jamie could have won if not for his pace lap problems. Thanks to everyone at Team Chimera. Simon was running strategy for us during the race, and Craig set up shop. Have a great one, guys.
Thank you very much, Josh, for joining us here at Road America. We'll see you back out in action in 2 weeks' time. We've also had our third place finishing driver today of Matt Cook come and join us. Matt, first of all, congratulations on the podium. We saw you go for a slightly risky strategy with that 3-stop strategy compared to most people going for the 2-stop. Just take us through that decision-making process of why you went that way.
I just wanted to do something different, honestly. More or less, I'm not a huge fuel saver in the general, but I don't have a lot of experience doing it, so I figured I may as well have a little bit of fun, and I still have drop weeks available, so worst case scenario, I used one.
And well, obviously, third place for you, still a very good finish. You have lost a few points for Josh in the championship. Shouldn't affect that too much. Heading forward, it's going to be to, I believe it is another road course, Mid-Ohio coming up next in the championship. It is indeed. That's going to be an interesting one for you guys because it's a very technical track. We know that Josh likes that circuit. He went very well there last year, I seem to remember. And that really could be the deciding moment for you in the championship.
Yeah, it could. I'm not planning on beating Josh on that one, without a doubt. And, if today is any indication of Ronnie's speed, then I'm going to expect him to do well as well. But I am looking towards some of the ovals that are coming up. Pretty sure I'll have a a fairly good chance of winning either one.
Well, Josh, before we go and Matt, before we go and let you celebrate with your team, who would you like to give a shout out to today?
Just a shout out to AeroX on a great job overall, and looking forward to working again for next week.
And while there is Matt Cook finishing third today here at Road America in what has been a very long, hot day for these drivers. But that's just about all we're going to have time for here today on RaceSpot TV and on the iRacing eSports Network. You can join us in 3 weeks' time when we're going to be at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the Pioneer Electronics 200-mile race for these drivers. A very interesting one that is going to be one which we know that Josh Ginn could go very well at. And of course, before we go, we can't forget to thank the sponsors here at the Classic IndyCar Series. The title sponsor, of course, being Logykal Innovative Engineering, and then the guys who bring us all of the races throughout the season. Eccentric Solutions with the Triple Crown Edifice Incorporated. Of course, the Laguna Seca charity race we've got in just over a month and a half time, coming from Carol Hudson at Breast Cancer Care Centre, and of course, Jorge Anzaldo from the Lionheart Racing Series. And of course, all those who get it done here at RaceSpot, Istvan Balau, the guys over at ATVO and AppEngineering.com, and of course, Adjan Design for the design of our overlays. Nick Thyssen bringing you live timing and scoring. I have been Jack Stars, and alongside me throughout this broadcast has been Randy Jones. We'll be back in 3 weeks' time from Mid-Ohio, but until then, good night.